campus visits over the last 5 to 10 years under the Pitino era. Of course, he was never hands-on with any of this. He always had low-level minions, the assistant coaches of the assistants to the assistant coaches. Guys like that would be the one doing the dirty work in regards to these activities. But like I said, Louisville has taken it upon themselves as a university to ban their program from tournament play in the big March Madness tournament for one season. That being this year. I'm pretty dang sure that's effective immediately. Now, they still can compete and are eligible for their, conference title and things of that nature. It's unfortunate because ultimately the people who are punished the most here are the players on this team that don't get the chance to showcase their skills and possibly earn an opportunity for themselves in their future by participating in the college basketball tournament. And they are unlikely any of the ones that, have been reported on and are in trouble or a part of any, wrongful activities and recruitment violations. So you need punishment, you need consequences, but it's unfortunate that the people who deserve those the most don't really have to deal with it too much, and the people who do get the blunt of it are people that likely had nothing to do with incurring the punishment to begin with. But so anyway, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if Louisville is able to continue their, impressive and I would imagine effective recruiting habits here in the future. Because I got kids. Maybe I want to send one of them to Louisville on just a campus visit. Like they might consider going to play ball there or something, and let's all go down as a family on a visit and see what they have to offer. I'm just teasing. Anyway, but okay, so their balls dribble is officially done. We're going to quickie our last little bit of topics. Like I said, baseball's out, golf is out. We'll quickie some balls on ice hockey, quickie some UFC, quickie some WWE, and get out of here with our balls deep thought of the day. All right, so from balls dribble to balls on ice hockey talk. The NHL regular season is officially in the second half as we are back from their all-star break, and nothing has changed whatsoever here in Minnesota for Wild players, Wild coaching, Wild fans. Nothing has changed. We continue to lose almost every single game we play. We have only won 3 games in the entire year of 2016. We're a month and a half into 2016. The Wild have won 3 games in that calendar year. And all 3 of those wins have been on the road. You have to go back to December 28th, 2015 to find your most recent Minnesota Wild home victory. That is unacceptable. Pathetic. And please, if you tweet, if you're on Facebook, hashtag Yo's gotta go. Yo needs to go. Yo has to go. Get Yo the get up and go out of here. Okay? Somebody, geez Louise, somebody be held accountable on this team. Yo is out there. I'm listening to his interviews on KFan every week, and he's up there saying that, maybe that's just who we are. Maybe we're just a team that has to grind it out year after year through the regular season, but then once we make the playoffs, we can beat anybody. I truly believe that. This was 5 minutes after he said, and I quote, "We don't have the talent on this team to beat people just playing individually to our talent. The only way we can beat people because of the lack of talent that we have on this team is when we all come together and play as a team." Really? There's no talent on the Minnesota Wild? There's no talent on this team? This is supposedly, has been believed to be up until, just January, basically, the last month and a half, one of the deepest, most all-around talented teams in hockey. Just because you can't get anything out of them, suddenly none of them are any good, we have no talent. That's just a horrible card to play, and I wouldn't expect Yo to play that card. I do actually really, really strongly like Coach Yo as a person, like just as a dude, as a guy. I think he's really nice and cool, and I dig him. But as a coach, I mean, seriously, it's same thing after same thing after same thing after same thing, year after year after year. And I'm just sitting here watching it going, why is no one held accountable? Why do we just keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result? That's the definition of insanity. This team is insanity right now. And that's where they're at. They can't win a game. They're 2 points out of the 8th spot in the Western Conference playoff race. So if the playoffs were to start today, or standings finished the way they are right now, Wild aren't even in the playoffs. And that is completely unacceptable for a team who made the playoffs last year because they were supposed to be just a goalie away, and we got that goalie, and lo and behold, boom, we couldn't lose. We were a great team. We take on the St. Louis Blues in the first round. We beat them. They were believed to be a cup contender last year. Then the second round of the playoffs, we get bounced by our daddies, the Chicago Blackhawks. So this year, with all the pieces we had, all the success we've had, the expectations and the assessment was that we're going to take another step. Like, that's how good we were. We should still be at least that good, a second round playoff team. And we may possibly take the next step and become a conference championship team or a Stanley Cup finalist team. That was the next step. And there was nothing to believe that we wouldn't at least stay on the step we were at, if we couldn't move forward. Well, that is not the case anymore. We have regressed. We have moved back a step or two. And it's team-wide, game after game. It's not any one player. It's not any one element. For a long time we've pointed to the offense, the lack of power play scoring, the lack of 5-on-5 goals in general. You can speak to never being able to win the game in the new 3-on-3 overtime format. We lose pretty much every time we go to overtime because we don't have the right strategy to go along with our personnel that works inside of the new 3-on-3 format for overtime. And it just, come on. We've been there like 12 to 20 times, something like that. We've been to overtime now this year. Like, we should have it kind of figured out a little bit. So that's discouraging. There are a few injuries here and there, primarily defensively with Spurgeon and Brodin. But the defense has been extremely disappointing this past month and a half during the Wild struggle, which is one of the reasons I brought up, please trade Dumba. Trade anybody. Trade Scandella, trade Fontaine, trade Zucker, trade Vanek. Literally trade anybody with the exception of Dubnyk and Parise. You could even trade Koivu if you had to. I wouldn't like it, but you could trade Koivu. You could trade Coyle. You could trade just about anybody on this team that is not named Parise or Dubnyk, because you have to send a message. Nobody's held accountable. We can just go through these struggles and ups and downs and inconsistencies and ultimate failures season after season, year after year, and no big deal. You'll get paid what you're supposed to get paid, and you'll come back next year and you'll still have your job, and we'll just do it all over again. So it's a lack of accountability. It's not anything specific that a line or player or anything like that is or isn't doing. It's team-wide, and those are always problems in any sport that have to be dealt at from the top down. But bottom line, even if that isn't the route we go, do something. Do anything. Just take one person and make them the scapegoat, make them the example, and go, yeah, it's not even remotely all your fault, but somebody on this team has to be held accountable for the struggles, and we have to send a message, and so you're out of here. We got to let people know this won't be accepted and won't be tolerated anymore. This consistent inconsistency, this regular failure, and that's the problem with the Wild. All right, that's all we're doing for Hockey Talk. We're not going to go around the league, like I said. We don't have a whole lot of time left. I want to get out of here. I got things to do. All right. So, our final bits of sports to discuss before we get out of here this week is UFC, WWE, and a miscellaneous farewell salute. In our UFC news, we've got some Fight Night results from last week. Stephen Thompson destroys Hendricks in the first round of the Fight Night main event. I want to say Thompson now is 12-1 and is looking to be the next contender for Lawler's 170-pound title. Look for that fight to be really good and really soon. Thompson has kind of an unorthodox fighting style, especially when it comes to his offense. And Lawler he's extremely well-rounded. He's just a great fighter with minimal weaknesses. No strengths that are too overly dominant. But like I said, just one of those armors that doesn't have a whole lot of chinks in it. So hopefully we get to see that within the next couple UFCs. I don't think they've announced it yet, but I'm sure Dana White's probably going to make that happen and announce it for like UFC 200 or something like that coming up this summer. We do have a Fight Night main event coming up on February 27th that you do not want to miss. It is the return of Anderson the Spider Silva versus Michael Bisping. That main event is going to be off the freaking hook, and it's for free. Off the hook. That's right, I'm from Canada. No, I'm not. But gotta check out that free fight, February 27th. And, I'll remind you again next week as well. Ronda Rousey has started training. She has resumed training for the first time since her loss to Holly Holm. Whenever the heck that was, a few months ago. She is now back in training, awaiting to take on the winner of the Miesha Tate, who she's fought several times, by the way, already, and won every time, versus Holly Holm match. Pretty sure that's still on, at least. And everybody, if there was ever a fix, this would be one you'd want to check for the fix on. Like, the UFC, nobody wants Miesha Tate to win. I could see Dana White paying her, or someone, compensating her under the table off the record to not give it her all. You can't make it obvious, but, don't even really try to win if the opportunity presents itself. You gotta let Holly beat you. Because we need Holly to win and take on Ronda, and if you win, it messes everything up. And nobody wants to see you versus Ronda again. But anyway, we got that. Good to see Ronda back training. And then our final and arguably biggest UFC news is CM Punk was scheduled to make his UFC debut versus Mickey Gall. And I want to say that was going to be at either UFC 199 or UFC 200. But coming up within the next couple months, very soon. And they were even talking some smack and stuff after Gall's most recent fight here just a week or two ago. And then days after that, it is announced that CM Punk will not be making his UFC debut as scheduled and is needing to undergo back surgery. So it is realistically, questionable on whether he will ever make his UFC fighting debut, let alone when, where, and against who, and all that good stuff, how he'll actually do, all the stuff that we really want to find out. Like, we don't care, I think, one way or the other, at least I don't, but just to find out, just to see. And we are not going to get that opportunity anytime soon, because like I said, that fight has been called off, and we'll just have to keep checking in with Mr. Chicago-made Punk every so often and seeing how he recovers from his recent back surgery, and if and when he will in fact finally get to make a debut in a UFC octagon. All right. So since we are on a little bit of a self-imposed time crunch here at the end of this episode, we will leave out any secondary wrestling talk here in this final segment, such as the Fastlane pay-per-view coming up in 2 weeks, WrestleMania coming up first week of April, other things of that nature. And we'll focus just on the couple big stories from this current week. As I mentioned at the top of the show, most notably, none bigger than the retirement of Daniel Bryan. Now, those of you in the wrestling world, wrestling fans know. Those of you who aren't, probably don't have as good of an idea, or I'm sure you don't. But Daniel